Welcome all of you to this special panel that we organized today. I would like to introduce you a very, very special guest. She is Ameenah. I would like to call her Ameenah because, as you will discover, she's really very warm and very familiar person. Of course, she's a researcher. She has been the former president of Mauritius. She's a mother, she's a woman, and she's a great entrepreneur. So I would like, Ameenah, to ask you, can you introduce you a little bit more, and after can you answer this question that these students are going to ask you about your professional career, your experience in life, you as a mother, you as a woman, and all of they would like to know.
Well, thank you, Cecilia. It's a great pleasure to be in the midst of young career women. And you are at an age, I think, where you're starting to asking some very serious questions. Well, how do I do it? How do I get there? What are the ingredients that are needed for you to move in society? Because one thing you will understand very, very quickly, we're still living in a very patriarchal society, right? And the conditions are laid out, the die are cast even before you start. So you're going to have to really get it all together so that, right choices are made, right decisions are made so that you're there in the years to come. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Okay, who would like to open the talk? Any question?
I think I'll go for it.
Okay.
So, hello, Madam Ameenah. It is such an honor to have you within our university. I am Kinzail Husni, a fifth-year architecture student, and I would like to know, with the rapid evolution of molecular biology, how do you think can the academic community prepare students for staying ahead within the future scientific breakthroughs?
When I was starting my career in academia, I was at a time when science was practiced in silos. That is, somebody is a chemist, can't delve into biology, can't be a physicist, can't be in mathematics. But I said to myself that the 21st century would be defined precisely by the science which will evolve at the interface. And increasingly, if you look at the Nobel Prize winners for the past 10 years, you see precisely this. And so I think what we're going to have to do for our students is to really train them to think laterally, to think differently, to really look at what is happening at the interface of the sciences. And a lot of solutions will be there. The latest one, which I thought was amazing a few years ago, that was, of course, 2 women Nobel Prize winners, of course, the CRISPR-Cas technology. And this is set to revolutionize agriculture, for example. And at a time when we are really looking at climate change as being a great impactor, a great game changer for food security, I think this is one of the technologies which we'll bring to bear to make these changes. And I see here, interestingly, at UM6P, agriculture is a very big focus by virtue of the company that is also helping the corporate structure. But more important, I think the leadership has recognized that this is an area which can really make a big difference to the livelihoods of people, creating jobs, entrepreneurs. And so it goes beyond just the science world. The impact will reverberate for a very long time.
I love that you have said that it's important, this lateral thinking, not just the critical thinking, that it's super important today with the fake news and all of this information. So this lateral thinking that can create new discoveries. So thank you for sharing this idea. So I don't know if you have any other question for Ameenah.
I would like to ask a question.
Yeah.
First, hello. I'm Khadija, a fourth-year student in healthcare management. And I would like to know what are some recommendations or ethical frameworks that you recommend that should be integrated into the education of new scientists, particularly those in gene editing, working with gene editing.
Very good question. I think right now I have seen already here in this university a very big emphasis in impact on artificial intelligence. And the impact of artificial intelligence are here to stay. And I think what we'll have to do is really look at the ethical aspect, because who talks about AI also talks about transhumanism as one of the key areas that will be impacted by this. You see increasingly how nanochips, for example, are being inserted in people. Technology moves very, very fast. Regulations comes up very slowly. So we'll have a lot of catch up to do to ensure that we bring to bear the ethical component. Humans are who we are, and technology is what it is. And I think even at the level of the corporation, there are some concern. I'm not going to say worries, but they are concerned that the speed at which this technology is moving is really going to make people stop and think. So we'll have to see to the best of our ability how we make it work for ourselves as a human race, but not forgetting the fact that there can be some mavericks who will use that for other purposes. So we could have to be very, very careful and really gear our institutions to address this ethical component and all that goes with it, be it in the development of warfare, be it in the development of medicine. You are in healthcare, so you know what this will impact. So it is our responsibility to say to it. And of course, we always put the responsibilities on the government, on authorities, but each one of us, we have to bring our own responsibility to bear in this area.
Yeah, I would like to add, because before this meeting we have another panel, and in this panel the students were asking about profit, economic result, or technology. But okay, technology is important. You have to make money at the end, because if you are an entrepreneur, you need resources. But don't forget the ethical point of view, because at the end we are human beings. So, and the ethical way is the part that can preserve us as a human being. So it's really, really important. Sometimes people are thinking in science, in mathematical, in technology, and forget this humanity part. And I think it's important. And if you are architecture, I think that you have to combine both the science, but how this person feel in this environment, so, and how ethical is to build this with this strategy or not. So I think you have to balance. It's important to balance. But okay, our guest is Ameenah, not me. So another question. Feel free to ask. Yes.
I would like to follow up on my friend's question. So first of all, I feel honored to be in your presence. My name is Sofia Dakir. I'm a second-year student in Hospitality, Business and Management. And my question is, how can scientific communities communicate better about the benefits and safety of GMOs, genetically modified organisms, to a skeptical public?
You know, that's one weakness we have as scientists. And I didn't realize how weak we were until I took office. Because when I'm communicating with people, when I speak as a scientist, we don't get the language right. And so we need to develop this tool of communicating, because if you're a scientist, very often you will use jargons which will speak to ourselves. So this is why we always say that scientists, they are in the ivory tower. It's true. To be able to speak to the people, you have to adopt a language that people can understand, can really comprehend. You don't speak above their head, you speak to them. And if you look at one sector, which is GM, genetic modified organism, there's a lot of people are scared when they hear the GM. You know, I come from a country where I consume GM every day. I consume oil, canola, cornflakes, you name it, all are GM. Wow. What we'll have to do is, because of the emergence of new technology, I just mentioned CRISPR-Cas earlier on, we're talking about GM corn, GM, all these GM rice and everything. We'll have to address the benefit, but not neglecting the downside. The downside to me is when countries kind of dabble with GM without the proper framework. And this is where we need a proper biosafety framework to be able to address the concern of people. So here, transparency, communication, dialogue matters before we start introducing the law, before we introduce the technology. So if we adopt this attitude of communicating in full transparency, this will gain the trust of people. And this is what is missing in our discourse these days is this element of trust. GM is here. GM is here to stay. But one thing we have to increasingly keep on giving good examples. For example, I'll just give an example because you mentioned GM. 70% of the germplasm of corn in Mexico is polluted, is contaminated. Yeah. Now, just imagine if there is a blight which can impact the GM. So you have wiped off the entire production for 1 year or beyond until you find the solution for that. That's why monocropping with one particular component is not advisable. So this is the kind of language we need to adopt. This is the kind of messaging we need to address. We need to get the trust of the people so that when we can introduce new technologies with them being conversant with the good side, but also with the downside.
Okay, you are the next, I
Yes.
guess. So the stage is yours.
Yes. So please, first of all, I want to express my honor and gratitude to be here with you. And my question that I would love to ask today would be related with your field, which is molecular biology. And it would be as the following. What lessons do you think after your discovery of entrance and gene splicing can be applied to educational approaches in molecular biology?
You know, the technique of gene splicing is a tool, right? And what we increasingly need to do is get young people, and I think here again you have a fantastic environment where people can really, you know, come and ask questions. And I think for school kids, we need to empower them with that knowledge. So we need to communicate again with them. And the way they learn science must change. They cannot learn science in textbooks. And this is something that I am a sort of product of this. I never learned science through the conventional way of sitting in a classroom. So if we are going to convert these kids to become these scientists, be it learning about gene splicing, learning about CRISPR-Cas, learning about all these new fancy technologies coming up, impacting, for example, the food sector, we need to take the kids out of the classroom and bring them to places like what you have here. Increasingly have open days for school children and make them discover, make them kind of want to dream about science, make them want to become scientists one day. And more importantly, make women into that space, because this is again is a dearth. If you look at the number of scientists, it's really appalling. Women scientists tend to remain at middle management, but we need more scientists to play that role model. That role modeling is very, very important. And this is where, when we bring the role model, like yourself one day, to these children, to say that it's possible, it's doable. And the message I've had when I was anywhere, to say to that girl growing up in my village, it's possible to get out there because she's done it. I can do it too.
Sure, thank you so much.
Yes.
My turn.
Yeah.
First thing, thank you so much for being here. My question is, can you please discuss how multidisciplinary approach in your research led to unexpected insights and breakthrough?
You know, I started as an organic chemist, and immediately I was confronted with a very important area, which was the area of traditional knowledge and drug discovery. Already when I was doing my bachelor's, I was working with a big company, American company, and I saw how transdisciplinary science must become. Because when I was doing my lab work, I was already talking to grandmothers with the recipes, right? People would think, oh, what's she talking about? But these people are custodian of very, very precious information, which we take. We translate to the lab. But before we translate to the lab, we need the input of the taxonomist to identify the correct identity of the plant. Otherwise, you can kill somebody very easily. Because the plant look alike and they're not identical. They can be toxic. So you're already having this approach here. So common people with knowledge, taxonomy, chemists who will be isolating, the pharmacologists will be looking at the effect in the cell, and eventually you'll be talking about the engineers who will be producing it at large scale. So I'm just giving you a very kind of fleeting way of doing research. But the essence is that you'll need to have all these people in your team. so that you can really get the best out of whatever you're trying to do in that particular area. For me, it wasn't so much the discovery, but much more the translation of that, the framing of that traditional knowledge from these lay people to see that, yes, it works, right? There is wisdom there. And we have to capture that wisdom from these people. And that's why I always say in Africa, when an elderly person passes on, we have lost the library. Because the transmission on our continent, I don't know whether it's a case in Morocco, has been oral. So for me, this has been the really, kind of tilt moment. Yes, we need to be able to take this knowledge, frame it so that people can get access to a medicine which is economically, socially, culturally accepted and acceptable. Yeah. So that was the very profound moment. Yes.
Yeah, I love this idea of this framework, of this global framework in which the tradition, the culture is like, this knowledge is like, I don't know, super important, and you are appreciating a lot in order to move to the other step, to produce something. And as you said, there were wise here, and we have to take advantage of this information, the tradition, the past, and to take advantage and to apply here to solve.
But Cecilia, what is important is that this knowledge creates a third way between the tradition and hard science, the third way to make us live on a world where we can adapt to climate change.
For example.
For example. And this is where, when you look at Southern American, the knowledge in these tribal people is so critical. Yeah. And if we listen to them, I'll just give you one small example to quickly react on this. When there was fire in Spain, they went back to the people in the region where there was not much fire. You know what was happening? The farmers released the goats. And the goats grazed on the leaves, so the fire didn't get there. Yeah. Simple.
Yeah. And clever.
Exactly. Yeah. But this is the kind of knowledge I'm talking about, getting back to this so that we can adapt to a changing climate.
Okay, so good. And I think that we have one question.
Hello, I'm Hasna, hospital management and logistics student. So my question is, what are the implications of alternative splicing discoveries for personalized medicine and future treatment of genetic diseases?
Wow. It's hard.
Yeah, no, but personalized medicine is coming. It's coming in a big way. In fact, personalized cosmetic is coming.
Oh.
Yes, this is very much the craze. If you go like places like Korea, for example, they'll make, it makes sense because why we need to have increasing go towards personalized medicine. Already, the world of medicine is suffering from the fact that all the tests on medication, they are done on a segment of population, very often Caucasian segment, right? And they have found that many people in the global south, where you have the Negroid, the Mongoloid, and all these different genetic type, they don't respond the same way to these medications. The dose which is prescribed, that's why increasingly clinical trials have to be much more diverse than what it is now. Yeah. Now, all these people around here, we're all different genetically. Yeah. So why should a dose which has been tested on one person somewhere else will be adapted to you and to me? Mm-hmm. So we'll need increasingly, eventually, we'll go down that route. But how fast we'll go, that's the thing, because we're still talking about 10 billion people by the 2050. So we'll need to find that magical solution to see to it that, but of course now with the power of AI being leveraged right across, I think we may be getting closer to that solution, to that answer.
That's brilliant. Okay, I would like, if you allow me, I would like to finish this panel with one more question, because we have here Ameenah, that she's an entrepreneur. She's traveling around the world. She's giving a lot of speeches because I follow her through social media. So, Ameenah, what is your secret to manage your time? Can you explain us if there is a secret, because you are so effective?
There is no secret. In fact, I will give you the answer at two levels. First is that we have 24 hours. You will not have time for TGIF. You will not have time for that moment when you go to meet your friends. As it's happened, the happy hour will probably not be in your agenda because you're a woman. We have, that's why I said initially, patriarchy is there. So you'll have to manage your time, and 24 hours is not enough to have a career, to have a family, to have a social life. What I did is I sacrificed the social life, not so much sacrificing, but really changing it to focus on my family and my career. And I was lucky to have married somebody who was happy doing what he was doing. So if you're going to choose your partner, make sure he's happy doing what he's doing. Then he will leave you alone.
It's a great point.
So that's what I do. So manage your time well, and also surround yourself with good people, not toxic people.
Yeah.
So good people will help you move up. Toxic people will bring you down. So choose your friends. You don't have to have many friends, but focus, get real clear objectives, real goals of where you want to go. And the rest is history.
So thank you very much for your inspirational talk, and thank you all of you for your questions that are super clever, super on the point. So thank you for this moment and sharing with us.
It has been a delight to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.